Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to a new edition of Real World News TV. I'm your host, Reggie Kearney, and my other co host, Sharon Tackett. She is out under the weather tonight, so you guys keep her in your prayers. But we do have our producer, all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada, Tony Breedlove. What's up, Tony?
Hey, you. It's always good to be able to sit in with you. I hate
Thank you.
that I hope that chair is getting better. I don't like the
Yeah.
circumstances, but it's a pleasure.
Hey, good, good. Before we get started, we just want to take a moment to just have a word concerning the passing of Cicely Tyson. Okay, a great, 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 great actress. She was one in a million. And every time you saw her, you say, she looked so good for her age, and you always kept saying, "This lady gonna live forever." But
Right.
we know better. The Lord called her home. We're gonna miss her, and I mean, she was even looking for more projects to work on up until she passed away. Saw the last interview she did with Gayle King a couple of weeks ago, and hey, the lady, she was solid. She
Yeah.
was solid. She will be missed. I mean, she definitely will be missed. Okay, so just want to remember her. You know, a great actress and someone that many actors and actresses can aspire to be. They can be just like her. Attempt to be like her anyway. You know. So,
Absolutely. She was
yeah.
great.
Oh yeah, she was. She was. She was. So tonight we're going to talk about an issue that's been plaguing the country for many years, and that is school resource officers. And the basic question is, are they necessary? I mean, when we look at the incidents that have taken place around this country in the last couple of weeks and even last year, we really wonder if these individuals are really necessary. Now, one of the reasons the school resource officers came about was because of the mass shootings that were taking place in the schools. So they felt like having officers in the school, at least one or two officers in the schools would help out, okay? Would give another layer of protection for the teachers and the students. But I just don't know anymore. I mean, because they have got to be trained on how to deal with young people, okay?
Right. Right.
They definitely have to. And that one young lady down in Osakala, Florida, County, Florida, and as small as that girl was, as skinny as she was, she probably weighed 50 pounds wet. He slammed that young lady so hard against the sidewalk, the concrete sidewalk, that she passed out. And she didn't realize what was going on until she got into the principal's office.
It's
That's
insane.
crazy.
It's
That's
insane.
yeah.
I think that, what we're witnessing is just what we witness in everyday life when we talk about law enforcement. I don't think that I don't think that there is an effort of kind of like scaling back these officers, whether they're dealing with the general public, adults, or whether they're school resource officers. But all in all, they are law enforcement officers, and we can't hold them to do anything different to children in school as long as there's still these issues of race, because you find more of these type incidents, especially when we talk about school resource officers. These incidents happen more so in the Black communities where there is a upscale of African Americans or just people of color. It could be Hispanic as well. Because I was looking at some videos, which I loaded for tonight for people to take a look at. But I was looking at these videos, and it's unnerving. And I don't understand how, just like we're not addressing the issues of law enforcement in our communities publicly, in the public community, I don't understand why this is not being addressed, especially in school, because we're talking about children. These are babies.
Well, I think one of the things is too. I don't think it's just a black community thing. I just think it's a black thing. Okay, I
Hmm.
just think that because of the simple fact these are black kids, they're getting slammed by the resource officers. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, I haven't seen any white kids getting slammed like that. Okay, on the news,
One,
I haven't.
one, and that's one that I did load. One.
Uh-huh. But for the most part, every time it turns around, every time you turn around, it's a black kid getting slammed.
Yeah.
Now a couple of years ago, after the mass shootings that started in Colorado and started moving through the country, I was all for it because you got to protect your kids. Okay, you got to protect the kids. I think it was a added layer of security in the schools. Okay,
Hmm.
but it's gotten ridiculous. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
really ridiculous.
I want to let's play a clip. Let's play one of these clips. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the first clip. This
Okay.
is, and I'll kind of like set it up for you. But this is a clip basically that shows an officer who I guess was in one of the offices, the school offices, and he was detaining one of the young girls. Um, I'm just going to let you take a look at it, and you
Okay.
tell me if this was excessive. We'll be right back.
A Florida deputy under arrest for a troubling incident caught on camera inside a school for children with emotional and behavioral issues. The deputy seen grabbing a 15-year-old girl by the neck and throwing her to the ground. Tonight, the head of the force outraged by what he saw. And here's ABC's Steve Osinsami now.
On the left is Broward County Deputy Willard Miller, the school resource officer at Cross Creek School, seen here texting on his phone. He was arrested. And on the right is the 15-year-old girl, the student he's accused tonight of physically abusing.
The byproduct of his actions were deplorable. They were uncalled for, and they violated multiple policies just on the optics.
This is a school for children with emotional and behavioral issues, and you see the student touch him with her foot, pushing the back of his leg. A minute later, it appears that they exchange words, and then he walks across the room, grabs the girl by the neck, throws her to the ground, and puts his knee in her back. He then pulls her off the ground, throws her into a room, causing the victim's body to hit the wall, according to the police report. The charge tonight, felony child abuse without great bodily harm. The sheriff is furious.
I would hope that every cop in America would disagree with that type of response.
Okay. Now he was wrong. I mean, you've got to have some kind of level of maturity with you. Okay. So the girl kicked him in the back of his leg. Okay, he's in a school for kids with emotional issues. Okay, young lady, please don't do that again, and keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, but yeah, but you know what I found surprising though is that when
Mhm.
I pulled that video from YouTube, the comments that people were making were just they were deplorable because
Mhm.
there were a number of people saying that well she shouldn't have kicked him in the back of the leg. You can see in the video it was not a lot of force, but you know how
Right.
kids and teenagers will taunt you. That's what
Mhm.
she was doing. Now, whether she should have done it or not, okay, we can discuss that.
Mhm.
However, did it did it warrant the behavior of the officer? Did it warrant him to slam her to the ground by taking her by the neck, putting his knee in her back, which is a measure that has been used on the streets that have killed people because you suffocate them. So, did it warrant his behavior? Did it warrant the actions that we saw? I just,
Mhm.
I don't. It was a child. It was a
Yeah,
child.
and it seems like everything that's going on happens in Florida.
I-
That's
right?
in Florida. It must be something in the water. But Derek had made a comment. He was saying that he was going to keep it simple. It would vary from school district to school district. If they're working in your school district and the communities behind them, then you keep them, okay? So I don't know. I mean, here in the area where I live at, we do have school resource officers, and to my knowledge, we haven't had any issues with them in the schools.
Mhm.
Not to say we might not have some issues with them in the future. So um, it's just hard to say. Do we still need them? I mean, has society calmed down to the point where these mass killings or different things going on in schools will continue to happen? And we can't. Do we take that chance by putting them out of the school, or do we continue to hold on to them just in case?
Yeah, but then the question is that just like, there have been calls for police reform, reforming the police departments and the police officers. Is that part of the reform? Is it a reform for the police, the school resource officers?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a number of different things that you have to look at, because as I was looking up things, trying to get prepared for tonight's show, because I really wasn't prepared to sit on the show. There were a number of things that I found, but what I found was really interesting. Not only what the duties are of these officers, but what the salary is, their annual and hourly rates. And then we question, is this only happening in Florida? I would think that, because looking at some of the salaries for these resource officers throughout the country, Florida ranks the lowest, or second to the lowest in pay. These officers are only making $34,296,000 annually at a rate of $16.49 per hour. So is it the pay that makes them not care? I mean, is it that they just don't care about kids? I'm trying to wrap my head around it. So are those some of the things that we have to even look at? Because you don't hear about these issues in, say, Massachusetts, who has the highest rate of pay for these resource officers at $46,717 a year. So the money, there's a big gap there. So is that part of it? They're figuring, well, hell, I'm not getting paid enough to do all this. Do they think that way?
Well, going back to the officer down in Broward County, Florida, with the little girl, it could have been having a bad day. Okay, it seemed like the little girl kicked him, and then he wants to get into a pissing match with the little girl. Okay.
Right.
Excuse me. So was he having a bad day? Was he trying to be one up on her? And then he gonna take her and throw her in the room?
You asked the question, do we get rid of these resource officers? Derek says, well, we have issues with teachers who are sexual predators. Should we get rid of the teachers? Well, that's a different mindset. That's a whole different mindset.
Here in the county I live in, they've done a good job with removing sexual predators out of the schools. I mean, that's going to happen, okay? Now, you tell me a school district in this country that's not having a problem with sexual predators among teachers, then hey, we fooling ourselves, okay?
Yeah.
Now, we got to use some common sense with this thing now, okay? The teachers are there to teach. The resource officers are there to protect. Now, should we just give the teachers guns, allow them to have guns in their room, and protect the classes if something breaks out again? There was conversation about that after Sandy Hook.
Yeah.
Should we put guns in the classroom? Let the teachers have guns, or let a number of teachers have guns. But then what happened? Some teachers get mad at a student and then shot the student. That was what they were thinking about.
Exactly. So let me, because I know that we're talking about resource officers and what their duties are to be. But according to some information that I did pull up, it says, or ask the questions, what do resource officers do? Or what are they supposed to be doing? They're supposed to be in head of safety plan development, internal dispute mediation, detention and arrests, personal and property searches, school patrols, advanced safety functions, and law enforcement education. I just don't understand how, if you are to be a part of making things safer, how we end up with, or how you end up with your foot or your knee in the back of a 15-year-old. What's safe about that?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Honestly, I don't get it.
Now, we're not saying that all resource officers are bad, and there are some good ones out here that the kids love to go to school just to see them, because they are able to take on the role of a father figure. Okay, so we do have some of them out here doing some good, but then we have someone here doing some terrible things. I think one of the issues in my area has been that these resource officers are creating a pipeline to prison for for the black students. Okay, because they tend to treat issues much harsher with a black student than they do with a white student. Okay,
right.
And then 9 times out of 10, the black student ended up having to go to court, and they end up with a record.
Yeah.
When the issue could have been taken care of in the school and not been, taken up in the court system.
And what I find interesting is, I hate to keep going back to the things that I found, but when I started reading up on it, it floored me. It floored me because, like you said, this has been going on for a long time. But just recently in 2000, I think it was 2016. Hang on. Yeah, 2016. There was a young boy who is now listed actually as a felon. He was listed as a felon in 2014 at the age of 4. So when we talk about prison pipeline, this is a true example of prison pipelines. So it says that as it happens, the Brownie kid wasn't setting any records. The title for the youngest child to be involved in this kind of activity or this kind of incident was actually 4-year-old Nathaniel Green, or Nathaniel. According to the reports, the child in question caused a disturbance in his kindergarten class by throwing blocks and climbing over desks and taking a few swings at both the principal and the special education teacher. Now that's the key, special ed teacher. But he was unable to be restrained. They were unable to restore order to the classroom, so the principal ended up calling the sheriff's department. Like I said, the title goes to the youngest at 4 years old. He was in kindergarten, but we don't hear about these things. But when the parents showed up, they found this little boy in leg shackles, shackled at the wrists. But ultimately, he was suspended from school indefinitely. And now he is, to this day, reportedly having nightmares from that incident way back in 2014. So this is something that can create serious emotional issues, especially in children. I mean, it's bad enough adults go through it. Adults deal with the PTSD. Some don't even make it out alive. But you're talking about a 4-year-old who is still 6-7 years later having nightmares. So
Now, Derek says something. There's no evidence to suggest that you have most high schools and middle schools with 7% or more blacks. Now, I'm looking at an article from the Washington Post back in November of last year, and it basically says that, statewide data released in June of last year showed that of 3,141 arrests in Maryland public schools during the 2018-2019 school year, 80% were made by SROs, okay? Black students made up 34% of the student population, but 50% of those arrested. The figures track with state and national trends, showing that black students tend to be arrested at a far higher rate than their white counterparts, okay? And this is in the state of Maryland, okay? This is in the state of Maryland. So there is a correlation with the number of black students being arrested and the number that have to go to court, and probably the number that end up in juvie or end up in, doing something later on down the road that pushes them into prison, into a state prison. So the treatment is definitely different. So this county, Montgomery County, is one of the larger counties in the state of Maryland. Two of the councilmen last year had a discussion about pulling them out of the schools because of the cost and reallocating that money more to train the administrators in the school on how to deal with what's going on in the schools. They say $3 million that funds the officer program should instead be used to expand mental health resources and after school activities for students, as well as train school employees in restorative justice. Okay. So there has to be a change. There are issues and there are concerns and everything with the school resource officer. Okay.
But I want to try and address Derek's comment right quick. I'm doing too many things at once. Derek says that most schools don't want to have students arrested because it puts a negative mark on the school, but you can't excuse drugs, weapons, and assaults on students or staff that would require serious medical attention. I get that, but then Derek, like say in the instance of, or for instance, with the video that I just showed, and I'm going to show you another one in a minute, but there's no evidence that this 15-year-old was either selling drugs or using drugs on the campus. There never was that statement made. There was no statement made that this young 15-year-old girl was carrying a weapon. So, and as far as a bad stain, the bad stain comes when a principal or a teacher calls for law enforcement even outside of the resource officers, and then they are mistreating these young people, these babies. So I don't know. Derek.
Schools are a perfect haven. Okay. Now, when I was in school and when you were in school, Tony, school was just an extension of our neighborhood. Okay. We went and enjoyed ourselves. Yeah, there was some fights once in a while. I mean, I even got in a couple fights when I was in school. We beat each other with our hands and be shaking hands and hugging each other the next day. That's how it was. Some people had a little marijuana with them and stuff like that. They did their own thing, but it wasn't any violence in the school. Okay.
Right.
All right.
What? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and I'm just saying, yes, we are in different times now, okay? But if you go back and look at the young lady from last week down in Florida, they were just doing a whole lot of jawing, okay? This police officer is trying to say that, this sheriff's officer trying to say he was trying to break up a fight. Well, they hadn't even got to the fight, hadn't even escalated to the fight. They were jawing. He threw a 15-year-old girl, like I said, wet, she's 50 pounds, slammed her, knocked her out, okay?
See, that's insanity.
That's what the problem is, And like I said, here in the state of Maryland, the NAACP and ACLU, they've been voicing their opinions as far as what to do with SROs in the schools.
But and when you brought up, being in school, when we were in school, I can remember a resource officer. Well, it was a couple of them. And they were really cool. They wore their plain clothes and, their leather jackets and, they were really cool people. But one of them always has stood out to me. He was a white boy. His name was Kenny. I can't remember the other guy's name. He was a black guy, but they remind me of a TV show because they were just that cool. And they saw when things were out of hand with students. They saw when students were doing things that they weren't supposed to be doing, and they addressed it. They didn't address it with violence. They didn't address it with, harsh language. They didn't do any of that. They were there, and they actually they provided a support system between the teachers and the administrators and the students. That's what they were there for. The only time that you would ever hear about them getting, rough with someone is someone was coming on campus that didn't need to be there and they were causing a problem. That was the only time, but you didn't hear about that. I don't understand what has taken place between then and now. Because I'm talking about in the 70s and now.
Right. Well, could it be the stress level that some of these officers are under? Not in the school, but in their personal lives. They bring their problems into the school and they've taken it out. I mean, I'm not even going to say that because it probably would have slammed the adult if they were on the street too, because we've seen that happen. But is it the amount of stress they're under, or are they just trying to be too cocky in performing their duties?
Are the stresses that more serious than they were then? I mean, fights are fights, gangs were gangs, disobedience was disobedience. So
I'm talking about stress from home in their personal lives. Are they dealing with stuff that's beyond where they just bring it to school and they take it out on the kids? Some of this happening.
Well, I thought that and correct me if I'm wrong, and people who are listening, because I know Vonnie was part of she was a probation officer, I think she said. Derek works in the school system. But correct me if I'm wrong, when it comes to law enforcement, don't they have psychological check-ins and things like that? I thought they did. No?
I'm waiting to see if Derek was going to answer that question. I'm pretty sure they do from time to time, But something's got to be clicking. Like I said, the best example is, like I said, you see the black kids getting thrown around all the time. And school resource officers, okay. Then look at the encounter of the 9-year-old in Rochester, New York.
See, I don't know about that one. Did I read about that one?
That was the one where the mother called the police because the young girl was acting out, 9 years old, and she was threatening to do bodily harm to herself and to her mother. Yeah. So when the cops get there, she's outside. She started yelling and screaming that she wanted to see her father. They want her to get in the car. She wouldn't get in the car. Okay. So then they finally drug her into the car, and then they're going to take pepper spray and pepper spray in her face. And she asked him, "You gonna pepper spray a 9-year-old? Okay, come on now." And they trying to say that in that policy that you have to do something to restrain a person, but then you can hear them in the background. The background noise you can hear on the radios. Someone saying, "Just pepper spray her."
Wow! God.
There was 6 officers out there. You can tell me y'all can jack that little girl up and get her in the car?
Right.
And not hurt her, just put her in the car?
Yeah, but okay, so look, here was an incident that happened in 2015, and this was in Irving, Texas. And this one kind of struck me because, here we are talking about a 14-year-old boy, right? He was inspired by a school STEM program to make something of a science nature, right? And to bring that project to school. Well, he built a clock. So here's the claim. The claim was made that the boy's family The officers are, by the boy's family, the officers arriving on the scene failed to read the teenager's rights. No, let me go back. So he brings a clock to school to show to his teacher and to his friends, his student friends, right? Well, somewhere along the line, another teacher, thought that he had built a bomb. Okay. 14-year-old little black boy. He built a bomb. This is what she thought. So she immediately calls police, right, in Irving, Texas. They come, they slam him into the car. They then take him down to the police station. They arrest him on terrorist charges. By the time the parents are notified, they run to the school, not being told that he's been arrested. So they get to the police station only to find him had been verbally abused and interrogated. He was shackled. And then someone else in the police department gets the clock and says, oh, no, it's just a clock. So the damage is done.
Mm-hmm.
The damage is done. They have made this child out to be a domestic terrorist. And now he's going to face emotional harm and issues behind this incident over a clock.
Mm-hmm.
A clock. Are resource officers equipped to handle what is going on in schools? Are they equipped to handle children? You know, obviously we've got an issue, especially I think down in Florida, because it happens all the time.
They do get some training because, like I said, I'm kind of focused, on Maryland since I'm from Maryland, and Carroll County schools. They go through a curriculum. Okay, they have like a 5-day curriculum for training SROs. Okay, you need people that can deal with kids. Okay, you don't need somebody rotating from the street for 6 weeks to the school for 6 weeks and back to the streets and then back to the schools. That doesn't get it. Like I said, here in this county where I live, man, you got some good SROs. I've heard kids talk about them before. So it's a mixture, and I think it's depending on the area you're living in. Florida is, a lot of times a racist state anyway.
Right.
It's the attitudes of the officers.
Right.
Right. It's like, does the color of the skin scare them that much where they got to overreact to black kids? It's just, that's how I looked at the Rochester thing. Were they scared this little 9-year-old girl gonna kick him in the knees or something and bite them all?
She's 9.
Yeah.
She's 9.
Homegirl was a big 9-year-old, okay? She was a big 9-year-old. But still, you're an officer. Yeah,
exactly.
You're an officer. Just pick the girl up and put her in the car.
So speaking of, okay, so now the clip that I'm going to play, right? Mm-hmm. This is going to put a different perspective on things, because I think when we talk about school resource officers, a lot of times in our mind, mentally, we think, white officers in black communities, black schools, right? I want you to take a look at this next clip. This is going to be a little different. And tell me what you think, even those who are watching. Tell me what you think should have been the right thing to do. Here we go.
Also a video creating controversy showing a school resource officer making troubling threats to a student outside of school. Local 10 Syra Onward live in North Miami with this story. Syra.
So there are a lot of mixed feelings over this officer's actions, but most agree that threatening to shoot students crosses a line. Take a look at this video.
She could have handled it in a better way.
Let's go. The now viral cell phone video begins after students say school resource officers had broken up a fight last Friday at North Miami Senior High School. You hear a slew of profanities that we're muting, some from students, but most of them from the officer. As she restrains a student, she says, "It doesn't effing matter, get the F word away from me." She then uses the same expletives to say she'll shoot them all while grabbing her gun holster. The unnamed officer does not actually remove the gun from the holster. Students, having seen the video and heard the threatening words, having a lot to say about it.
I believe they're supposed to help us feel safe, not endangered.
And then when she pulled him to the side and then she put her hand on her gun, I kind of felt scared for the kids, because what if she actually put it out and shot? Because, you know, with most of the police brutality and all that stuff going on nowadays, you never know what these police officers could be thinking about.
Now, she needs to be fired for just putting her hand on the gun. Even going through those motions, even though she probably wasn't going to do anything. She was trying to scare the kids, but you don't scare kids like that.
You know what? What the young man said in the end of that video was actually very profound. And the reason why I believe it was profound is because you have young people now that are more in tune of what is going on in our communities nationwide. I can't remember being at that age, and I can only assume that he's about, 15, 16, maybe 17 years old in high school, right? But I can't remember at that age that I was so in tune with police brutality and what the makeup of officers are doing at that given time. I was not that articulate on what was going on around me at that age. Mm-hmm. But now kids are more aware of what is going on and what the potential danger holds when we talk about police officers, because they've been inundated with this stuff every single day. And now they are faced with it right in their backyard or in their front yard. I thought how keyed in this kid was. And all of them had to have been keyed in, because now we're in that age of video and everybody's got a camera on their phone. Somebody had the forethought of, let me record this in case something goes wrong. That's what the mindset was. Mm-hmm. That's what the mindset was.
And I think one of the reasons the mindset is the way it is because these young people have seen a lot of black men killed and some black women killed over the years at the hands of police officers because of police brutality. So I think a lot of them feel they've lost respect for police officers. Okay, and so that officer didn't do nothing else to improve her relationship with the students at the school, because she threatened to shoot them all.
To shoot them. Now, do you think that she was wrong for using the language and the profanity that she was using when we talk about children? And we got to look at that. We're living in a different world now, where most children hear the F word. They're told certain things, even by their parents. Was she wrong?
But, it was. It was. She was being very disrespectful to those kids. Even stopping an adult on a traffic violation and using that kind of language, that's being disrespectful. Okay. So I mean, you said, do they do a psychological evaluation on these people, on the officers from time to time? She looked like she needed one that day.
Yeah, Vonnie responded and said that they do.
Yeah, something was eating at her that day. Break the fight up and ask the kids to move along. Okay, if they don't move along, then arrest them. Okay, take them to the office. Take them to the office, to the principal, and say, "Look, I'm having problems with them. I asked them to move along. They wouldn't move along. Here, take care of it." Okay, you got to realize North Miami ain't no easy place, okay?
But Reggie, we can continue to make this excuse that the officer is having a bad day. Where's the professionalism of the duty that you have taken an oath to withhold of protecting and serving? Where's the professionalism?
They serve no more.
Well, I'm just saying, we can't keep making excuses that they're having a bad day. That's how they get acquitted. That's how they get acquitted.
Well, they get acquitted on because of the Bill of Rights for police officers. But the thing is, they don't protect and serve anymore. They don't do that. I mean, that you never take that word away, them two words away, and throw them out the window. They think they have the power to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Granted, yes, they're breaking up a fight is more dangerous than the actual fight. Take it from me, you had to watch 360 degrees by yourself. If I'm a teacher, I'm going to ask them to break it up. If they don't break it up, I'm going to find somebody else who can break them up. Okay, I'm not going to get myself involved in it.
Yeah.
And everything. But police officers now, it's like they got the power, and they feel like they can do anything with the power because nothing is going to happen. I wonder if anything really happened to that lady. I wonder if she got fired. The officer got fired, or she just got a write up.
Slap on the wrist. Yeah.
Her boss tells her, "Look, calm down. Don't do this again." And they probably took her away from the school and took it and didn't allow her to go back on the school campus.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, but when I saw that one, I was like, "What in the world? You putting your hand on your firearm, and these are teenagers, and just because they're not clearing out as fast as you want them to clear out, that's when you get on your radio and you call for backup to clear the area. It's that easy. I mean, of course, students do crazy things right now in this day and age, right? Young people do. However, you still have to follow the guidelines of which you learned in training. You have to. I don't know. I'm just saying. That's just me. Bonnie says she probably received a timeout. Yeah. Go get in the corner, officer.
Go stay in the corner.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I just don't remember that resource officers were this violent when I was in school. I just don't. I don't remember it as being so. I just don't. Let me just take some time to say thank you to everybody who is watching and tuning in. Again, I'm sitting in for Cherry Ann Tappan while she's out ill. Really hoping that she gets well soon. And it's not that I don't like being here, Reggie. I just wanted to get well. But we do send out our thoughts and prayers. Also, thoughts and prayers go out to Jay Arrington. He used to be on our show as well. And he is recovering, so I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for telling me about that, Mr. Reggie. And what else do I have to say? That's it, right? Oh, make sure that you head on over to the website at hottopicstalkradio.com so you can catch up on some things, get to know the show hosts, send us some show ideas. Tell us what you want to talk about as well, what you see in the news. Hi, Mommy. My mommy is on listening. Mommy, I haven't cussed not once. Did I, Reg?
No, you haven't. You've been pretty good tonight.
I was good. That's my mommy.
So, like I said, this is going to be an ongoing debate when it comes to SROs. I mean, it's not going to end. It's not. I mean, because depending on where you live at, depending on what school system you're in, some people are going to be for it, some people aren't going to, be for it. But, I do agree to a certain extent that we got to work in other areas of the school, especially with mental health and things of that nature, working with our kids, because I'm just surprised at the number of young people now that have mental illness, It's just, it's a scary thing, so, excuse me,
and I'm glad you mentioned that, because then why are we sending in regular police officers as resource officers on these school campuses if they're not equipped or trained to deal with those who have mental challenges? Because the first video we showed, the girl had mental challenges. We don't know what the circumstances were except for a fight in the second one, but usually what we hear about, like you mentioning the child just recently, or was it, no, that was in Rochester, New
Yeah,
York.
Rochester, yeah.
Behavioral issues. Those are mental issues, you know, some capacity that is not quite connecting. So why would you send in a regular school resource officer to try and curtail something that he is not or she is not trained to do?
Right.
It just doesn't make sense to me. That's how people get hurt.
Yeah. Well, when I was growing up, we didn't have no issues. Your parents beat the crap out of you when you got home. If you had an issue. Oh boy, you get that butt beat.
This is true.
When you went
Right,
back to
mommy?
school, and look, when you went back to school the next day, you were well healed of that issue. You know, that issue was taken care of when you went back to school
Oh,
the next
yeah.
day.
And it was evident on how you sat in your seat.
Yeah, that's right. You know, so you know, back in the day, parents had a way to deal with you. If you were causing problems at school.
Right,
You know,
right.
they just had a way to deal with it. You know, so yeah, I tell
So
you.
where do you think this is going to end up? Because I know we've got about 10 minutes left. Where do you think this is going to end up? Because, you know, as time goes on, there's still the talk of police reform. Some people want to, you know, dismantle police forces. But where do you think this is going to end up? And how is it going to affect those who are school resource officers and these kids?
I think it's going to be a district by district thing, county by county. You know, really, you know, I don't see, like here in Maryland, I don't see the governor or the legislators just doing a mass repeal of SROs in schools. Okay, I think there is going to be some adjustments. It's going to be more training required. You know, I think it's going to be more emphasis put on mental health issues with the young people. You know, but I think they're gonna always be around to a certain extent, you know, because like I said, do you get rid of them all and then 3 months later you have a school massacre?
School shooting. Yeah.
And then you say you wish you had kept them, you know. I think I think the SROs have got to be retrained. You know, yes, it's gonna, as long as they're talking police reform, this is gonna be part of the conversation. Okay, if this is going to be part of the conversation, let's make sure they're well trained, that they don't go around slamming young people on the ground or putting their hands on their guns. Okay, you know, so it's got to be a midpoint where everybody comes together and figures this thing out. Okay.
So for those children who are in schools that do not have mental disabilities, what do parents tell their children just to go to school every day? I mean, they can be involved in something that just as a bystander. You know, we've seen that in school shootings. You know, how do we as parents or grandparents send our children to school, and what lessons do we send them with to try and keep them away from anything that might be a problem that will involve a school resource officer? Because once they get a hold of you, who's to say if it's going to go right or wrong? You don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Do we teach the same thing that we teach them about going out when they get in their cars and go to parties and hanging with their friends, you know, about being stopped? What do we tell them? They're supposed to be going to school, and that's supposed to be the happiest place.
Yeah. Well, I think that they kind of made schools a prison now, you know, way it was being on lockdown and things of that nature. You know, I think the schools have just been, it's just an extension of going to prison, you know. Yeah, you get to go home every day, but, you know, the protection and the safety measures they put in school, just like going into a prison.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be careful what you do, careful what you say. Even if you get upset with the teacher, you better not yell at them because you might get slammed for yelling at them, you know.
Right.
I don't know what the answer is. You know, I don't know what you tell the kids to do other than, you know, just if they ask you to move, just move. Don't give them no lip service. Keep it going. You know.
Right. Well, Vani says that she thinks that resource officers are a necessity, but the correct training and monthly evaluations should be a must.
Yeah.
I agree. And I did have, I mean, that question came to mind about, when you say, well, maybe they're having a bad day and maybe they're, going through some stuff. The question still arises, when do you, or how do you separate your personal life from your professional life? Because now you're putting people in danger. If you've got some things going on up here that you can't deal with from home, you're taking it out to the street, and you can potentially take someone's life, and it could be a charge.
Because I wonder how that officer in Florida felt after he slammed a 15-year-old that couldn't do nothing to him. How he felt after he slammed her, knocked her out, drugged her to the office.
I can't remember if I saw in the end that he just walked back to.
No, he handcuffed. He handcuffed her. He handcuffed her while she was unconscious.
He slammed her, right? But he slammed her into
and
that
got on
room.
top of her. Got on top of her and put handcuffs on.
I could have sworn he walked back.
No, he didn't walk back. He got jumped right on his knees on top of her back and grabbed both of her wrists and put handcuffs on.
Oh boy!
While she was unconscious.
Yeah, sick. That's sick. That is really sick. So, along with reforming the police department for our public and our streets and our communities, we have to reform them. And I agree with Ani. You have to reform them to be on campus because this is a dangerous situation, and you're hearing about it more and more. And this has got to be handled. If not, we're going to have more children dying.
Yeah.
On top of COVID and everything else. So, anyway, any last words for you?
No, we probably have a lot to talk about next week with the impeachment proceedings started.
You know what? I can't remember if I heard this correctly, but somebody, I don't know if it was CNN or MSNBC, because they start to run together for me. Was it said that they're urging Trump to testify publicly?
He's probably urging himself, I heard he's thought about maybe testifying. But see, this is his thing. He wants to rehash the elections again, saying that they stole the election from him. He's not even, what happened on January 6th is not even on his radar. Okay?
No.
And one thing I was gonna say this to next week, but I'm gonna say it now. The outcome of this, impeachment will tell you the direction that the Republicans are going in this country. Okay.
Yeah.
It's already a consensus that they're probably not going to find him guilty because you need. I think 10 or either 15 Republicans to convict. Okay, this is going to tell you the direction they're going. After everything that happened, after all of you all were scared that your lives were going to be taken, after all of this, okay, you're going to sit and let this man go. You talking about you want healing and unity in this country? But you're not going to stand up to him and say, look, you were wrong. And I think not finding him guilty is just going to turn this country in a whole nother direction.
I believe you're right. I have to agree with you. I do agree with you. But I'm just waiting to see all of the details.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting.
Because anytime you have someone who is up for conviction like this, a president, and you so far have lost a total of 4 attorneys because you keep talking about the election, then you can tell this is going to be a circus.
Yeah, and plus too, they were going to charge him $3 million to do his work, and that's another thing that's scared. He probably ain't got $3. But this is But I'm gonna tell you, old Biden done put on his big boy pants, boy. He tells him, "Look, you don't follow me, I'm going here without you." You know, especially on this COVID relief bill that he's trying to get passed now. He said, "Look, you know, no small potatoes here. You either in or you're not. You know."
Exactly. No,
That's how he's rolling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So we're wrapping it up. Thank you, Reggie, for allowing me to sit in for Chair
No
Ann.
problem.
Chair, again, we want you to get well. Okay. You got to take care of yourself and all that good stuff. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure that you follow what?
Now I'm looking at Derek. Derek said, "Great show," and Tony didn't curse me out.
I didn't cuss at all, but you know what? It's never too late.
Okay, hold it. You done good tonight, okay?
It's never too late. But see, my mommy is watching, so
oh boy.
Because she always says, "Do you have to talk like that?"
And wash your mouth out in soap now.
I know. Oh my gosh. But make sure that you follow Real World News TV right here on Facebook, and you'll get show notifications. Make sure that you even send show ideas so that we can talk about what you want to talk about. If you see something in the news and you want a little clarity, then this is where you're going to get it from, right here on Real World News TV. Every Tuesday night, the show always begins at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 Central, and 8:30 on the East Coast. Head on over to our website at hottopicstalkradio.com. Tomorrow night on Hot Topics Talk Radio with me and Yvonne Baker, tomorrow night is going to be interesting. We're going to be talking about liars. And I can't stand a liar.
And your pants on fire.
We're going to be talking about men who just can't seem to tell the truth.
Why can't it be women who can't tell the truth, huh?
Okay, so I did issue a disclaimer in that description, right?
Okay.
I did say that, most people lie. They do. But tomorrow night, we're talking about men. Okay?
Baby, I love you. I still love you, okay?
Lies.
Oh, boy.
Oh, me either, Bonnie. I can't stand a liar or a thief. So that's what we're talking about tomorrow night. Me and Yvonne Baker on Hot Topics Talk Radio, right here on Facebook. The show starts at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 9 Central, and 10 o'clock on the East Coast. Make sure that you follow both Real World News TV, as well as follow Hot Topics Talk Radio so that you can catch the show tomorrow night and always. So with that being said, we're going to get out of here. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for joining us and supporting the show. Night, Mommy. Love you. All right. We'll talk to you guys.
Okay, peace. Have a good one, everyone. Good night.